And welcome to part 5 of our P40F build. Last time around we got our landing gear on and our wings straightened out. We're going to take that tape off here in just a moment, but we want to get a couple things started in the process first. Now this has been overnight and the landing gear are dry, so I'm not afraid to put them on the table like this. I know they won't collapse. And going to our tail wheel is going to be our next step in the assembly. But if we put that tail wheel on right now and set it down, it's going to collapse again. So we want to wait on that for just a minute before we put any weight on it. So we're going to do that right away, right off the bat. We're going to take our good old tube of toothpaste, glue. That's what it was called many years ago. People called it toothpaste glue, but that was a bad thing because they said some kids might actually use it for toothpaste. All right, so we're going to take a little dab. See that little hole in there? We're going to put just a little dab of glue right on that hole so it can start working into the plastic. Just like that. Now we're going to come over here to our tail wheel assembly. And we're going to pop that off. Remember, put that finger on there so it don't go flying. There we go. And then we look at our tail wheel just a little bit. Okay, we're going to have to do a little bit of touch-up paint on there. That's okay. We'll catch that here in just a minute. Now, we're going to go over here to the glue. Remember that little dab it in the glue trick? There we go. You don't want a whole lot. There. Now, rub that glue off your fingers if you got any on there. Bring this over here, and you want to put the wheel so it's just like this. It's looking backwards, okay? And then you want to check it straight. Make sure that it's straight up and down. And leaning to the back, just like that. Now, since we got that glue on both sides, it's going to set up fairly quickly. But in the meantime, we're going to set this aside while that sets up. Because here real soon, we're going to be putting on our propeller. Our propeller assembly is right here, and there are 3 parts to it. Well, 4 if you count part 42. So we want to paint our blades black. Problem is, that's really hard to do when you're holding it like this and paint. So we're going to take that ubiquitous toothpick and push it right on there, and there we go. We got a perfectly good holder. Then we're going to take a little bit of our black paint. We're going to come over here. We're going to bring our palette over. Remember our palette? I've been letting this paint sit upside down, but I think it's finally just gone. We'll get just a little dab out of it. We only need a dab. And of course, we won't get it. Okay, so if we can't get it one way, we'll get it another. There we go. See, there's still plenty of paint in there. Now remember, if your paint's too thick, just take a little bit of water and dab your paint in it. And when it gets down to the bottom like this, it does have a tendency to get too thick. Okay, see how I just mixed that in lightly? Okay, now you want to use one straight, even stroke. You don't want to work it if you don't have to. Flip your brush over. There, see? Because if you keep going back and forth with the brush, you're going to get brush marks or streaks. Now we're going to do this side. And you notice I'm not getting the very center. I'm not getting the hub part. Oh, that's bad. Look at that right there. I missed that. Got a little piece of flash on there. That's okay. It's okay to miss little things. Just go back and fix it. It's just paint. There we go. Now we're going to do this last one right here. And there we go. We have a painted propeller. Now here after this dries, I'll show you how to do the yellow tips. The tips get to be painted yellow. Now this, we're going to take and set this aside. And you can poke this into anything to hold it up. Even jam it into just a piece of masking tape like that. That'll hold it while it dries. Okay, now we're going to put our lid back on. Oh, wait a minute. Hey, while we're thinking about it, remember that little bit of trim that I said I wanted to do on this tail wheel? Well, right there and right there, and we're done. Our wheels up front, they could use a little help. You can see that where we sanded them lightly last time. Right there at the, right there where they glued together, we'll just touch that up a little bit. There we go. Looks all nicer. Now we'll put our top back on our paint. And we're going to get ready to move on to the next part when we clean off our paintbrush. It doesn't have to be excellently cleaned. Dip it in the water. Do that a couple times just to get the majority of the paint out of it. There we go. Okay, now, the next one we want to do, because when we do these two, these are called the elevators and horizontal stabilizer. Okay, the front part is the horizontal stabilizer. It stabilizes your air because it doesn't move on this airplane. The back half, back here, is called your elevator because it does just what an elevator does. It makes you go up and down. Now, on some modern aircraft, it's all one piece, in which might be called a stabilizer or a stabilator or an elevon. But on these P40s, it was a non-movable stabilizer with an elevator. And that's these two pieces right here. We're going to go ahead and pop them out. There, see, that thing went flying. I didn't have my finger on it. These are the other two pieces. These two pieces here and here, that's these guys. We don't want to do those yet because they're going to go over here. Over here. They're going to go on here, and that wheel is still not very sturdy yet. We don't want to mess with that yet. So we're going to do these. All right, do that thing where we feel all the way around. Take our knife, trim that little bit off. Come over here, trim that little bit off. Okay, same thing. We're going to feel all the way around. See, there's a little bit right there. Okay, trim that off. Now, you can't see it very good, but there's a mold crease or molding line right here. And what that does is that gives you a high spot. So when you glue it in, the glue goes to that high spot first instead of the entire surface. So when you see that, just take your sanding stick and lightly sand that off of there just a little bit. There we go. And we can't get in here with your sanding stick back here. Just scrape it a little bit with your knife. All we want is we just want to make sure that we have a nice, flat, smooth surface for our glue to stick to. Now, these are definitely left and right. As you can see here, you have 27, right? And we have 26. The thing to look for on these, see that little bump right there? That's represented in the model as that little bump right there. Okay, so this one goes on this side, and this one goes to this side. The important part is that bump goes down. So first thing we want to do is we want to dry fit. Okay, as we're dry fitting that, we want to check our gaps. Okay, that feels pretty good. Go over to our other side. Dry fit that. Need to do a little more work on this one. There we go. We'll just do a little more scraping there. Let's try it again. What is that right there? Sometimes fingernails work real good too. So now we're going to put this in here. Okay, now we got an adequate fit. The problem with these is they don't want to stay where you put them. And we're going to have to do looking from this end a lot. So that means we need to get rid of this tape. Well, since it's been all night and these glue edges in here we were worried about are set up and cured, all we have to do is take this masking tape and pull it off like that. Now, I want to be careful because we don't want our supervisor Sammy to get into this because it'll stick to his fur, and then we got a mess. Okay. So, if we set it down gently, that tail wheel is still a little squishy. We don't want that yet. So, we're going to come back here to our pallet. And we're going to grab this one that goes, where's our bump at? There's our bump. This one goes on this side. Oh, he's going to get his tail in that. Now we're going to get glue on all our points that need glued. Now we're going to set that down for just a moment. And we're going to let that glue work like it did on the tail wheel. And we're going to do this side here. See, I'm just barely putting any glue on there at all. Just a little bit of glue. It doesn't take much for this because we're gluing both sides. And it's already melting the plastic. And that's basically what the cement does on this. It melts into the plastic. It's a chemical reaction. So we put that on. And it goes just like that. Okay, nice and solid in there. Okay, everybody got that? Now, we want to look at it from this angle. How does that look? It needs to be square. And actually, that looks pretty darn good. All right, but wait till we do the other side. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to get this with just a little bit of glue. And we're going to set that down on that tail wheel very gently. Same thing over here. And see, that's the other problem, that that seam that we filed off before we even tried to put it on, well, it not will, but it can give you a hard time trying to get these pieces lined up. Oh, looks like we got that one in a little bit of paint that we didn't mean to. Okay, we got a little paint bubbling up. That's okay. Now we want to look at it from the very end. Okay, let's move this over so we can maybe see it against just the red table. All right. Okay, now we want to make sure that these are up like this. Now I'm going to have to turn this so I can see it better. All right, now what we want to do is we want them to set for just a minute where they can, there. Now we just need to give that just a minute or two to set up. In the meantime, we've got these other two doors that we want to do. Now we only got to give this about 5 minutes. So we're going to move on to these doors, which we're going to pop right here. Okay, camera lady, come on down. There we go. Now on the P40s, it's not very clear on these instruction sheets that come with this particular model, but that's where you do a little bit of research on the web, and you will find that these P40 doors sat straight out from the body. They didn't angle in at all. Okay, we got a couple little owies here that we need to get rid of. Now you can just twist these off if you want. Usually you can, but especially on some of the smaller pieces, you don't want to. And this is one of them reasons, like I told you, that you don't want to use larger knives, hunting knives, fixed blade knives, because they're just a little too big for this fine, delicate kind of work like this. Great for skinning a deer, but not much for this. Okay, there we go. That looks pretty nice. Now, remember we were looking at these guys here? There, camera lady, are we straight on? Can you see these guys back here? Okay, let me give them a look. Wow, them are looking really good. Now we're going to flip this over. We're going to put these on. And this is the same thing. We're going to give ourselves a little gob of gel. Like the old Burrow Cream commercial, a little dab will do you. Okay, we're going to put a little along here. Okay, bring it on in, camera lady. I'm going to put a little along there. And then we're going to put a little... Yeah, I had the right one. Then we're going to put an equally tiny amount on this side. See those two little pins? We want to get it on those pins. And we want to get some right in here along that very edge, right where it's going to touch. Right there. Flip it over. Now look, if my big clumsy fingers can do this, you got a youngster over there, 10 years old, they'll be able to do it easy. And there we go. It fits in. Oh, not quite like that. We want it to come over just a little. There we go. There, just like that. And if you can see it, let's turn it over. Get some light. Okay, you want it to be just there. There. All right, now let's get that other one on there. You know what? I lost which one of these is my good pile of glue. There we go. Okay, so right along here, a little dab will do you again. Oh, there's our kitty Amy. She had to spend the night in the hospital last night. We were afraid she was getting diabetes, but the doctor says she's okay. So we're all happy today. Yeah. There's Amy. She comes down to see what's going on, but she doesn't hop up on the table like Sammy. Because he's got to stick his nose into everything. All right, now if you lose control of that piece, don't panic. Just pick it up and put it back on. Like I just did. There we go. There. Now we're going to look at these from this end again. Oh, see how where this one's all messed up? I did that with my thumb. You just got to hold it down. I'm gonna look at it from my angle for a second. You just got to push that back down where it was. That's all you can do. And if you're not sure, flip it over where it's balancing. Put one underneath each, put one of these underneath each side. There you go. See, I'm using that same type tube so that they're even. There we go. Now we'll just give it another minute. Now there's Sammy again. Now we're going to move on to our next. At least he doesn't sit on the pieces that we need. Okay. Now these pieces here, these 6 pieces, we're not going to use them and we're not going to use the bombs. This particular version, the P40F version, did not use those. It used that drop tank, which, since we're sitting here waiting for that to dry, we can go ahead and put this drop tank on right now. Because we are at the part where that is ready. Because these had the chance, if you remember, these sat overnight too. Okay. I'm going to put glue on this end. Glue on this end. Glue on this and on this. Now remember, we have these 4 little dimples in here. Okay, so we're going to put just a drop like this. You just want to introduce it. Don't need a whole lot. It just needs, oops. It just needs to get a little bit going in there. I don't have enough. I keep giving myself little tiny dots of glue and they're not quite enough. Here we go. Oh, that's too much. There we go. Now you can also wait to put this on if you want. So when you paint it, these drop tanks, if you remember, I told you they were made out of paper mache, and they were very often, well, actually, they were more often than not, a different color than the bottom of the airplane. Sometimes they were just plain not painted at all. They just used the aluminum dope. And there you go. You just find your 4 little dimples, and you push it in. Now underneath here, right underneath here on a real P40, there would have been a bar, the connector bar that hooked up to. These are just the sway braces to keep it from moving around, but on this model, that's what actually holds it. Some of the some other models, they have that little piece that goes in there that does the actual holding. Now we're going to flip it over, and we're going to start working on the propeller. Let's see here, where's our... Did we lose our spinner? I was pretty sure we had the spinner. Okay, let's look at our propeller. It's nice and dull because I used matte paint, so it's dry enough to touch. And we're going to go right over here. And we're going to pop this piece off right here. And right here. Now this, according to the instructions, well, first thing we need to do is clean it a little bit, huh? Okay, maybe this fell off. I think our spinner might be in another place here. But then this is going to go over piece 42, just like that. Now, if you look at it from the end, you might see your cowling sticking forward. If that bothers you a little bit, then just sand them down. If not, just put this on right over top. Do not put glue right here. If you get glue right here, chances are you're going to glue this piece to the fuselage. And you don't want that if you want your propeller to turn. And this one will turn just a little bit. Oops, I bumped that. Okay, we're okay. So, in order to prevent that from happening, we're going to put that over there first, right? See, like that? Okay, and we're going to get a good look on for where our glue is. We're going to take our glue and put it round out. Now, remember I said when we was doing the cockpit, it doesn't do you any good to put the glue here. So why am I doing it here? Because of this. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take and pick this up just a little bit and work some glue down in there. Okay, there we go, just like that. Now, if you don't want to glue this piece, if you want to skip doing that at all, you can. Because what you can do instead, on this particular model, we'll clean that off and show you step 2, where we just put this over here like this. But then if we take our propeller, and you want this, always look at this. It's wider on one side than it is on the other. So it's going to go in here like this. All right, see how we test fit that? Okay, we've got a problem there. Okay, and the problem is this piece needs to be trimmed out a little bit. And that happens. So we'll trim that out a little bit. And we'll take this piece back off of here. And this is going to be hard to do because it's going to want to turn. And we can just try and file a little bit. If you kind of go at an angle, you can do a little bit. And we're going to file just a little bit off of there. Boy, not much. There we go. Let's clean that out a little bit. A little human air pressure. Okay, now that looks better. So, if you don't want to try and glue this disc in. Just fit it over. Oh, excellent. Okay, that little dab will do you again. And then we're going to come over here. And get that little dab of glue on there. And we're going to put the glue on this tip. Now see, if we glue this tip on here like this, or put glue on this tip, we're not getting it back behind the disc at all. But when we put our propeller on, guess what our propeller is going to do? It's going to hold that disc in place. Now you see these little teeth on the disc? See them? You want your propeller to go over top of those. Just like that. Okay. All right. I'm going to have to give the... Oh, we bumped our elevators again. That's okay. We just set them back down even. Let them sit back down even. All right, camera lady. Shut her off for a second. I'll be right back because we need to get... I need to find this spinner that the carpet monster ate.